called Krishna Devaraya. You heard of him? Not very famous here? You have. And he also had not a minister but a jester, Tenali Ramakrishna. You heard of him? Oh, okay. Are there Andhra people? Telugu people? Okay. Tenali nunchi vachinara? లేదు. Okay. Recently in United States I met a doctor whose second name is Tenali. I was immediately excited about this. I thought, you are from Tenali? I asked. He said, yes, my village is Tenali. Then I was joking to him about Ramakrishna, but the unfortunate thing was he had never heard about Tenali Ramakrishna, and he did not know that he came from his village. Maybe he went to United States too early. Anyway, one day Krishna Devaraya was having a haircut. The royal barber was giving him a haircut. He was civilized, not… And a crow came and sat there and started doing its usual kaka. The barber stopped the haircut with arresting attention, just started listening to the crow. Krishna Devaraya looked at him and said, what is this? What are you listening to the crow? As if you can understand what the crow is saying. He said, wait, Your Majesty, wait, he has a message. And very carefully heard it for a long time and then shook his head. Krishna Devaraya became very curious. What is this? You understand the crows? Yes. What is he saying? Your Majesty, this crow has come as a messenger of your forefathers from heaven. And what he is saying is that they are in heaven and uncared for. Above all, there is nobody to entertain them. There is nobody to keep them happy. They are there, everything is physically taken care of, but there is nobody to entertain them. So they are really longing for some help from you. That's why they have sent this crow as a messenger. We must send somebody to heaven to entertain your forefathers. How can we leave them like that unentertained? Your forefathers. Krishna Devaraya immediately became very emotional. My forefathers are bored and suffering because of lack of attention and entertainment. I must send the best entertainment. So let's see who is the best dancer, who is the best musician, who is the best whatever, all this. Then a few other courtiers arrived and all of them said, Oh, Your Majesty, if you are willing, I am willing to go, but I can't sing for nuts. But if you want me to go and serve your forefathers, I will go to heaven and serve right now. Like this they built it up. But then they said, no, for your forefathers we must send the best of the best. How can we send? A musician, how long can he entertain you? If you hear him for 2 days, you finish with him. If you send a dancer, how long? If you see him for a few days, you finish with him. We must send somebody who can keep them continuously entertained. Who better than Tenali Ramakrishna? He can keep your forefathers forever entertained because he is so ingenious. He is the best guy. Krishna Devaraya also agreed, there is nobody like Tenali Ramakrishna. He is the best entertainment. I wouldn't like to part with him, but my forefathers, he was in emotion. He said, yes, we will send Tenali Ramakrishna. Then Tenali Ramakrishna was called, and he heard the story as to how he should go to heaven to serve the forefathers. Immediately he took on the act. Oh, Your Majesty, I am more than willing. This is such a honor, I am going. I also know this whole thing, how to go. The barber had also received instructions as to how to send a man to heaven. The crow instructed how to send a man to heaven. They said, you must make the man sitting facing south, and then you must get lot of sandalwood, camphor and ghee. The heap should raise well above an elephant, a full-grown elephant, and it should be only sandalwood, pure ghee and camphor. And keep the man inside, build this whole heap, and then set fire to it. As it goes, this fire should burn for a minimum of 3 days, and then the man will evaporate and go to heaven and serve the forefathers. Tenali Ramakrishna said, this is the correct method, this is the best way. I will go and serve your forefathers. It is just that, let me make the preparation. I want to purify my body and my mind and everything before I go there. I want to take off all the doshas in me. Give me just 30 days' time. A grand site was prepared, a huge thing going on. Tenali Ramakrishna personally went and supervised the whole process. And he only set up this whole thing with his trusted labor. He created the whole site the way he wants it. Krishnadeva Raya was moved with Tenali Ramakrishna's dedication towards his forefathers that he is willing to go to heaven. The day came and Tenali Ramakrishna went into a haystack first, and then over that this whole hill of wood and ghee and camphor was built, and then set fire. 3 days it was kept burning. After 3 days, nothing but ashes were there. Tenali Ramakrishna disappeared. Many months passed. Krishnadeva Raya wondered what is happening to his forefathers, because the damn crow did not come again and tell what is happening. Every day when the crows came, he asked the barber, what are they saying, what are they saying? This is not the crow, this is just an ordinary crow, not the messenger crow. After 8 months, one day, when Krishnadeva Raya was in the full assembly of the court, Tenali Rama arrived with long hair and a long beard. And he bowed down to Krishnadeva Raya, and Krishnadeva Raya was overjoyed that Tenali Rama has come back from heaven. And he said, what is happening? Are my forefathers well? Did you keep them happy? I kept them very happy. They have been splitting in their sides with my jokes. They're really enjoying everything. It is just that they have one problem, Your Majesty. What is that? He said, there are no barbers in heaven. Look at me. Even I couldn't have a shave. And your forefathers, for so many years, they're tripping on their own beards. It's become really difficult that they're carrying long beards around their neck, and they're really having a problem. They need a good barber. We must send the best barber. Of course, the best one is the royal one. Krishnadeva Raya immediately said, I will send my personal barber. The barber quaked. Then he came and fell at Krishnadeva Raya's feet and admitted, I did this horrible thing. Why I am saying this to you is, once you're identified with something, your perception gets so distorted. From the day you are born, to increase your identity with your family, your parents have been campaigning, how you belong to them and what. To increase your loyalty to your community and caste and creed and religion, other people have been campaigning. To increase your loyalty and you're even willing to die for your country, some other people are campaigning. On different levels, people are constantly campaigning to ensure that you are deeply, deeply identified with something so that you will serve those purposes. Nobody wants you to be a liberated human being because they're afraid of freedom. They believe that if one is free, he may do irresponsible things. Only because one is not free, he does irresponsible things. If one is truly free, why will he do anything irresponsible? Why will he do anything harmful? He is not free in his mind, that is why he does desperate things, isn't it? He is too identified with himself and nothing else, so he can harm somebody else. If he is not even identified with this one, there is no harm coming out of such a human being. It cannot come out of him. So because of these campaigns, you get so identified and everything gets distorted. We can run a campaign to make you believe just about anything. I want you to know this. If we campaign hard enough, we can make you worship anything, we can make you hate anything, we can make you love anything, we can make you give up your life for anything. It is just that we have to work on your identification. How strong is your identity? That is how much you go, isn't it? Once your intellect is identified, mind is no more a harmonious circus, it's a mess of a circus. The whole system of yoga, the technology of yoga, is only towards this. Right now, what we are offering as inner engineering is fundamentally just this. It's not a teaching, it is not a philosophy, it is not an ideology or a belief system or a religion. It is just a technology to create a distinction. If you go into these processes, what they're doing to you is just this. If you sit here, your physical body is here. What you call as your mind is out here. What is you is away from this. Once this little space between you and the activity of the mind, between you and the activity of the body arises within you, now mind is no more a mess. It is a great symphony. It is a tremendous possibility. It can take you to great heights. If this distinction is not there, it is this distinction which unfortunately got misinterpreted as non-attachment or detachment. Yes, you must detach yourself from your body experientially, not detaching yourself from family or people or whatever else from life around you. That's very easy. When they become inconvenient, you can detach yourself. Then a divorce is a detachment, isn't it? A divorce is not a detachment. Detachment means that you have disentangled yourself from the process that you call as body, from the process that you call as mind, because both these things are an accumulation from outside. This body, how did you gather this? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. How did you accumulate the mind? All the impressions that you received through the 5 sense organs became the mind. So these two accumulations, if you have to gather so much accumulation, naturally there must be something more fundamental than that within you, or what you call as yourself, should be something little more than the accumulation that you gathered. So once this distinction arises within you, once you liberate your mind from being identified with anything, then mind is a miracle. Mind is a spectacular circus, not a mess. If you have questions, please.
Sadhguru, what is the process for identification?
Now, whatever is generally being referred to as a spiritual process, let's understand what that is. You telling your prayers may not be spiritual. Why I'm saying this is, 99% of the prayer on this planet is only about, dear God, give me this, give me that, save me, protect me. That is a survival process. It's just that you're routing your survival through heaven, that's all. So what you're referring to as spiritual is that in some way the experience of your life has transcended the limitations of the physical. The body is physical, the mind is also physical. When I say the mind is physical, it is just like, you can very clearly see that this light bulb is physical. But the electricity behind the light is also physical. The light that it throws out is also physical. Similarly, not only your brain is physical, the mind is also physical. The thoughts that it generates also is physical. Whether you're thinking about the God or the devil, it is still physical. No, I am thinking spiritual thoughts. There is no such thing. Thought is physical. And whatever you think is always coming from a certain accumulated information within yourself. Information is physical. Memory is physical. Gathering of information is always physical, isn't it? It may get subtle, but still physical. So, if your experience of life comes to a point where something beyond the physical becomes a living reality for you, then you're spiritual. In what way is it significant to make this happen? If a dimension beyond the physical becomes a living reality for you, then naturally the body and the mind are two processes that you handle sensibly. You will see the moment this experience arises within you, the way your physical body reorganizes itself, its capability to reorganize itself is absolutely miraculous. You will see people go through one single initiation. When they come out, their faces have changed. Within a week or two, you will see the very way their body functions will change. The very way they look, you will see there is a difference. Because body's ability to reorganize itself, if you liberate it from a deep, crippling identity, is so fantastic. The same goes for the mind too. Mind will go through tremendous transformation that may not be visible for other people, but the body's transformation will be clearly visible because it can be easily measured. So what needs to happen? For you to have a dimension beyond the physical alive within you is, right now your whole perception is limited to 5 sense organs. 5 sense organs in the very nature of things can perceive only that which is physical. Is it so? You can see, hear, smell, taste and touch only that which is physical. That which is beyond the physical cannot be perceived by sense perception. So if your senses or if your perception raises beyond the sense perception, then that which is beyond the physical becomes a living reality for you. Why is it that it is not on in everybody? Why is it so? It is simply because for the survival process to happen, for your survival to be taken care of, 5 sense organs are more than enough. So they come to you at the very moment of birth and they are on. These 5 sense organs are more than sufficient for you to survive on this planet. So they are on by themselves. Only if you develop a longing to know something beyond survival, if you transcend the limitations of the instinct of survival, only then the other dimension of perception becomes open within you. Otherwise they never open up. They just don't open up because you don't create that possibility within yourself. Right now, if you look at your life, every single activity that you're performing in your life is all about survival. Physical survival, psychological survival, emotional survival, financial survival, social survival. Like this, many levels of survival, but it's all survival. So when everything in you is focused only on survival, the very nature of the instinct of survival is that it wants to build protective walls around you. You are many concentric walls actually. You will see these walls, if a man that you do not know approaches you, you have a wall there, right there for him. He has to stop right there. If your neighbor comes, you have a wall there for him. If your friend comes, you have a wall here. If your family comes, you have a wall here. But for everybody, you have a wall, isn't it? You are many concentric walls, one over the other, because this is the work of the instinct of survival. It constantly goes on building walls of protection for yourself. And these walls of self-protection are also the walls of self-imprisonment. When it starts suffocating you, you want to break it. But your instinct of self-preservation is on in everything, so it won't let you break it. So, unnecessarily, life goes through a totally unnecessary turmoil. Because your identification is so strong with the physical body, there is a confusion between the two. The only thing that needs to be preserved in you is your physical body. Everything can be trampled down right now and rebuilt the next moment, isn't it so? No, you won't allow it. Your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions, your personality, if you are willing, we can just demolish it right now, this moment, and rebuild it the next moment. But no, if I step on your foot and say, if I step on your foot, you'll say, it's all right. But if I step on your idea, your emotion, your personality, you will be deeply hurt. That is your problem right now. The instinct of self-preservation has extended itself beyond its realm. Instinct of self-preservation is only with the physical body. Rest of it should be wide open to everything. But because of a strong identification with the body, you have made your personality also like a body, the mental activity also like a body, the thought structure also like a body, emotion also like a body. It is an emotional body, a mental body you have, and it hurts more than the physical body. Isn't it so? So it is because of this identification, a confusion has happened to the life within you. It is not clear-cut. Now your intellect cannot function in a sane manner. It cannot cut through and show you life just the way it is. It is distorting everything.
How you can live with the same lady day after day throughout your life unless you identify her your wife? And my second question is...
No, we'll handle one at a time. Is she here? She's here, okay. Recently I was in a place where a Jewish rabbi was speaking. This rabbi is from Denmark and he was talking about some other rabbi, I don't remember the name, a very wise one who said this to someone. A man went to this rabbi and asked him, I love my wife very much, but when I walk on the street, every woman that I see, I want to do something to her. What shall I do? The wise rabbi looked at him and said, son, it doesn't matter where you work up your appetite as long as you go home and eat. Now, if being with one person is happening only because you have identified them to be something to you, it is a stable structure. It makes a society, but it destroys life. If you're being with somebody because you value that person, you're being with somebody because you love that person, you're being with somebody because you have formed some kind of intimacy and connection with that person, now it's worth being. If you've not done any of this, but you are staying with somebody just because somebody is your wife or somebody is your husband, oh, it is definitely a torture to be with those people. Being with your wife is a horrible thing. If she is a woman that you love, it's a wonderful thing. You can't stand her, but she is your wife, that is a horrible thing. A lot of people have done this to themselves. So, being a husband or wife is a social thing. It is not an individual thing. Individual thing is two human beings have built a certain relationship that they value. That is what is the individual thing. Somebody is my wife is something that you only tell somebody. If you believe she is your wife and she has to be this, this and that, then it is just torture between two people. It is only socially you tell somebody, this is my wife. Between the two of you, she must be your lover, otherwise you should not live with her. Yes?
Sadhguru, we are conditioned to 14 million frequencies and we see only thing which is within this space and time. Now polarity and identity are simultaneous things. You say get rid of all duality and we get rid of identity, which is physically not possible. And simply because we are conditioned to space and time. Have you ever gone beyond space and time and had the taste of eternal bliss?
Now, both space and time is a creation of your conscious mind. If you transcend the limitations of your conscious mind, there is no such thing as space and time. Modern physics is also working its way towards this direction. They're talking about 11 different dimensions in the same space. It has always talked about 21 different dimensions in the same space. Many years ago, on a certain afternoon, till then I managed my time and space very well. On a certain afternoon, I happened to be sitting on a small hillock which I was involved with, which I loved, which I knew very intimately. Till that moment, I always thought this is me and the rest is the other. I handled the other quite well, but still this was me and that was the other. Suddenly I burst forth into an experience. I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was all over the place. The very rock that I was sitting on, the very air that I breathe, the atmosphere around me, everything became me. That doesn't make logical sense. Because if you want to make any kind of logical sense, you need two. Without two, there is no logic. And suddenly there was no two, it was all me. Everything was just me. I thought this lasted for about 10 to 15 minutes. But when I came back to my normal senses, about 4.5 hours had passed. I was sitting there with my eyes open, fully conscious. I was not in any kind of trance or whatever. I am fully conscious. But time just flipped. And I found for the first time in my adult life, tears were flowing through my eyes. Me and tears were impossible. But I've always been peaceful and happy. That's never been an issue. But here my shirt is wet with tears, and I'm bursting with a completely different kind of ecstasy, which is just the body cannot contain. When I really shake myself to my normal senses and try to understand what is happening to me, the only thing that my mind could say was, maybe I'm losing my balance, maybe I'm just going off. But it is so beautiful, I don't want to lose it for a moment. The next time this happened to me, I was sitting with my family at the dinner table. Actually, it was in my experience just 2 minutes. It was only 2 minutes, but 7 hours had passed. This started happening, and one day I just sat down and I thought it's maybe 20-25 minutes, but 13 days had passed. I was sitting right there, eyes open, fully conscious. It never occurred to me that I should eat or sleep or anything. I sat in one place for 13 days, not with any effort, not with any intention, not with any attitude towards attainment or anything. I simply sat down and looked around. 13 days were passed. So time and space is very much the creation of your logical mind. Once you transcend that, there is no time and space. And you don't even have to cross time and space to be blissful. Blissfulness will happen to you in so many ways. Right now, I think there are lots of people here who are practicing Shambhavi Mahamudra. You sit down in the morning, 21 minutes, you become totally blissful. Drunk, but fully aware. Look into my eyes and see I'm stoned all the time, but fully conscious. This moment if I want I can flip, or this moment if I want I can be alert and conduct the situation the way I want. And if you were aware of the culture, as Sri Karan Singh was mentioning, Shiva is known as the Adi Yogi. He was inebriated all the time. He was drunk. At the same time, he's a perfect ascetic, sitting there in absolute meditation and drunk at the same time. This is what it means. And this is how all of us should be. Absolutely inebriated, but perfectly stable within ourselves. Now, the need for seeking something from outside will completely disappear. Once you're blissful by your own nature, your life becomes an expression of your blissfulness, not in pursuit of happiness. And that's the shift that needs to happen in every life.